The Atlantic finally decided to stop acting like a hostile regulatory agency. Not warm, exactly, but warm enough. Warm enough that a man could justify dragging a beach chair across the sand with a cigar case in one hand and enough towels to look like he was preparing for a small-scale coastal occupation. The first true sunny beach day of 2026 has arrived, and that's thanks to a friend extending an invitation to join them and their out-of-state family for a beach outing. The calendar got cleared faster than a congressional ethics investigation. I loaded the essentials: beach chair, towels, sunglasses, lighter, cigar cutter, podcasting brain, and a healthy distrust of centralized authority. And for the cigar, that's tonight's featured smoke. The legendary Tatuaje Cigars Cabaiguan Guapos RX Natural. A cigar with a name carrying actual history instead of sounding like a cryptocurrency startup. Cabaiguan comes from a city in northern Sancti Spiritus province of Cuba, an area famous for producing some of the most knowledgeable cigar men on earth. The blend itself is rolled in Nicaragua by Jaime Garcia at My Father's Cigars, which means before the thing even touched flame, it already had more craftsmanship behind it than most government infrastructure projects. The host handed me a beer from his cooler. No discussion, no IPA lecture, no dissertation about citrus notes harvested under a biodynamic moon cycle. Just, here you go. Beautiful. That's freedom. The beach itself was alive with that early season way, pale tourists from Ohio discovering sunlight again, retirees aggressively speed walking like they were escaping socialism, children building sand structures with better engineering than municipal road departments, and seagulls operating as fully autonomous anarcho-bandits. I settled into the chair, clipped the cap off the Guapos RX, and toasted the foot. First draw, perfect. Soft spice, cream, earthy, a little cedar, maybe a little more cedar than expected, and a little pepper. Smooth enough to relax you, but structured enough to remind you that somebody knew what they were doing, like a well-written constitution before committees got involved. Naturally, the cigar became a conversation magnet. One member of the family looked over and asked, "So what exactly is Liberty Cracked Media?" And there it was, time for the elevator pitch. Every independent media operation essentially has this moment. You either explain yourself clearly or sound like a guy who live streams conspiracy theories from a bass boat. I leaned back in the chair and I began. Liberty Cracked Media exists because modern media forgot how to sound human. That got their attention. I explained how most corporate media today feels focus grouped into emotional oatmeal. Sterile, predictable, risk-averse, biased, and terrified of saying anything with actual personality. Everything comes pre-sanded. No rough edges, no spontaneity, no humanity. Liberty Cracked Media was built on the opposite of that. Not corporate, not synthetic, not assembled by consultants wearing lanyards and saying things like consumer engagement vertical. No, it's media for the people who still enjoy conversation. Long-form conversation, unscripted conversation, funny conversation, occasionally ridiculous conversation. Content where cigars, liberty, economics, absurdity, local activism, culture, free markets, nicotine, humor, health things, and storytelling can exist in the same room without some HR department fainting into a chaise lounge. One of the out-of-state relatives laughed and said, "So basically, anti-LinkedIn." I said, "Exactly." Because Liberty Crack Media embraces something most institutions no longer understand. People crave authenticity more than they desire polish. We talked about how modern audiences are exhausted by algorithmic outrage and sanitized corporate branding. Everybody sounds managed now. Everybody sounds approved. Liberty Crack Media deliberately sounds like actual people sitting on porches, beaches, cigar lounges, and microphones talking honestly about the world around them. And sometimes dishonestly, who knows? But not because we think we're saving civilization, but because civilization has become unbearable when every conversation sounds like a pharmaceutical commercial disclaimer. Well, another beer appeared in my hand through the invisible magic of beach hospitality. The cigar kept burning beautifully. At this point, two folks from the group wandered over carrying cigarettes and asked if they could join the smoking section. And I told them, this is a fully deregulated enterprise zone. They laughed and sat down, and honestly, that moment became the entire spirit of the episode. Different people, different tastes, different backgrounds, but everybody sitting together in the sun, enjoying voluntary association. No lectures, no mandates, no purity tests, no bureaucratic compliance forms to enjoy nicotine near the Atlantic Ocean. Just people. That's liberty. One of them asked, so what's liberty on nicotine specifically? And that opened up the next chapter. I explained that liberty on nicotine perfectly encapsulates everything Liberty Crack Media is trying to accomplish, because the show uses cigars and conversations as a gateway to broader ideas. Personal freedom, property rights, culture, entrepreneurship, community, individuality, and the increasingly radical notion that adults should be allowed to make decisions for themselves. Plus, it just exposes people to cigar culture and relaxation. Plus jokes. Lots of jokes. Because, well, humor matters. Authoritarians hate humor because humor decentralizes power. Nothing destroys self-important political theater faster than laughter. The beach conversation drifted into all kinds of territory. Why local businesses matter, why independent creators are replacing institutions, why everybody secretly misses authentic regional culture, why chain restaurants feel spiritually Soviet, and whether seagulls should legally count as organized crime syndicates. One of the cigarette smokers asked, so you guys are libertarians? I answered, well, we're suspicious of anybody who wants to run your life while failing to operate a functional DMV. That got louder laugh than I really expected, and the Guapos RX reached its middle third. And this really opened up more sweetness, more spice, a thicker smoke, and a richness that paired perfectly with the salty ocean air and cheap beach beer. That's the beauty of cigars and a setting like this. A premium cigar slows time down. You cannot rush one. A cigar is anti-algorithmic. It demands patience in a world optimized for scrolling. And that's part of what Liberty on Nicotine celebrates. The rebellion of slowing down. Sit in the chair, talk to strangers, listen to stories, watch the waves roll in. Smoke thoughtfully. Exist physically in a real place instead of permanently online screaming about tariffs at anime avatars. At one point, I looked around and realized something quietly important. Nobody cared who I voted for. Nobody was arguing about national outrage topics. Nobody was trying to dominate the conversation with ideological performance art. People were just hanging out, which ironically may now be one of the most subversive acts left in the American culture. The sun started dipping a bit lower, the breeze cooled off, and the beach crowd thinned. I nubbed the cigar down farther than intended because the Guapos RX simply refused to stop being enjoyable. And as the gathering wound down, I realized something. I had no idea whether I changed any hearts or minds. No clue if anybody would ever listen to a podcast. No idea if Liberty Crack Media gained a single new follower. But honestly, that wasn't the victory. The victory was freedom itself. The freedom to gather, the freedom to smoke, the freedom to joke, the freedom to speak openly, the freedom to build independent media without permission, the freedom to spend an afternoon in the sun with people who simply enjoyed each other's company. That is the real product. Not clicks, not metrics, not engagement analytics designed by caffeinated behavioral scientists in Silicon Valley. It was human connection, the kind institutions cannot manufacture as hard as they try. As I packed up the towels and folded the chair, I looked out across the water and thought, maybe liberty isn't always found in massive political victories. Maybe sometimes it's just found in a beach chair, a good cigar, a cold beer, and a conversation nobody tried to control. And that is worth protecting. This has been Liberty on Nicotine. And for more media content, check out libertycraftmedia.com.
Got the smoke rising up, drifting through my door. Every puff remind me what I'm living for. No chains, no man can't claim me no more. This cigar tastes like freedom, yeah. Rolling slow like a midnight prayer. Fire in my hand, wind in my hair. This cigar tastes like freedom anywhere. Worked all week, now I'm claiming my time. Little leaf of liberty, smooth like rhyme. Some call it habit, I call it peace of mind. Every draw unwind the ties that bind. This cigar tastes like freedom, yeah. Smoke her high like I just don't care. Ash falls soft like a whisper in the air. This cigar tastes like freedom anywhere. I don't need no crown, don't need no throne, just a little fire and a piece of my own. Each breath I take, I carve my tone. In the rhythm of the night, I'm free to roam. This cigar tastes like freedom, yeah. From Kingston streets to the mountains there. Light it up, brother, lift your stare. This cigar tastes like freedom everywhere. One life, one love, one spark divine. Freedom's the flavor in this smoke of mine.